going to digital from DVD was a change that I didn't really fully understand how big that change was until really 2022. Because I was selling bespoke programs. This industry is going to need somebody like me, doesn't need to be me, but it's going to need to be somebody like me who doesn't like it as much as they don't like it, so that we'll maybe package it in a way that is affordable and tolerable. Like when you see transformations that you can't believe that transcend the scale. Everybody in the test group lost weight, but their blood markers, their hormone levels balanced out, cortisol curves, insulin response, like all these important markers that affect night sweats, brain fog, mood swings, settled down.
So Carl Daikeler, I consider you a friend. I consider you a mentor. We've worked together. And obviously I've been in awe of what you've built at Beachbody. You have a new name now. Well, it's not that new anymore. We'll talk about that here in a minute. You're meeting Matthew, my co-host from L.I.F.T.S, for the first time. He's known about you. We've talked about having Carl on now for a long time, right? I said, look, I'm going to get him, and we're going to cover your incredible founding story and journey. So welcome to L.I.F.T.S.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
So talk about how Beachbody got started.
So, just a little bit of background. I want to take all the time, but I came from a background of production and even education-wise was around using media to teach or to influence. And so that led to me being involved in the infomercial business early. And then when I was running a small, what we would call direct response marketing company, infomercial company, we wanted a fitness product. And I had this idea for a short abs program, and we called it 8-Minute Abs. And that, little $30,000 investment in 8-minute abs, 8-minute buns, 8-minute arms, 8-minute stretch, 8-minute legs, we sold like 2 million copies of this thing on TV. And I said to my partner, that was for a separate company at the time, or a different company, I said, there's something here. And I've got other ideas. I had sort of a file folder of ideas, and let's do more of these. And he was like, no, I want to go more in this media direction. That he wanted to run a media business. So I sold my interest in that company, did a stint working with Guthrie Renker, but I kept compiling ideas. And it really was all based out of my own lack of consistency and discipline. I like to be active. I don't like working out. And it showed, right? I'd never been ripped in my life. And so I thought, well, I had raised money, started that company with that partner. I've got a file folder full of ideas. Let me do it again. And so I raised a bunch of money, had a partner, John Congdon, and he and I raised $500,000, and basically went right back to where I'd left off. We did a thing called Great Abs Guaranteed, Thin Thighs Guaranteed, and then our first long form infomercial was a program called Power 90, which we did with Tony Horton. And this was basically a circuit training program that I had learned in high school, and that Tony had helped me. He had helped me as a personal trainer, right. And I'd gotten really good results. And we said, all right, let's put it to tape. And that literally was we launched that in like our second or almost started the third year of us as a company, and we did $33 million in that product in our first year with an infomercial, full program length infomercial. And that basically really as a microcosm of what Beachbody meant. It was that we're going to use electronic media to sort of replace the expense and inefficiency of a personal trainer by delivering the information in a way that is structured and step-by-step and tested. What we realized is we needed to layer on nutrition on top of that. How should I eat in order to get these kind of results? And it's been variations on the theme now for 26 years with literally a catalog of 140 different, call them Power 90s, if you will, that we've developed. And it's been a really wild ride. And it started on VHS tapes, DVDs.
Yeah.
And then in 2016, we digitized all the programs. I think we had maybe 50 of them, 40 of them at that time. And that became Beachbody On Demand.
Right.
Then we added a live layer, Beachbody On Demand Interactive, acronym BODI, B-O-D-I. And that's what we are now. We got the BODI URL, body.com, and simplified the business a little bit, and that's where we exist now. So no more DVDs, no more VHS. Now it's a digital subscription or an entitlement program similar to sort of like an iTunes, where if you just want to buy P90X or Power 90, you can buy that for $59.95 and have access through the app forever versus having to subscribe. So we have these two sort of ways for people to consume or purchase and consume the content.
How important back then was it to really deliver results? Because many infomercial products, whether it's, I think Gazelle was one of the people back, I'm thinking of infomercials, had the sort of elliptical, was he called Gazelle?
The guy Gazelle, with the long, Tony Little.
Tony Little, yeah. There was a lot of these sort of products that came out and they became coat hangers, as does many of the equipment nowadays. And so you didn't really have to worry about whether people had used them. And in fact, I hear many stories where some big brands design them to be used about 5 times and that's about it. With your product, obviously how it's evolved now, retention and memberships is important to get that continuous subscription. But back then, when you came up with those videos, how important was it to create a program that actually delivered results as opposed to had a sexy title?
I really appreciate that question.
You were the result.
Well, yeah, I was a guinea pig,
yeah,
for sure. And that was, it's the classic, I'm not just the CEO, I'm also a member, right? But it's really the question. What you asked is the question, because infomercials weren't bad as a media form, but they were kind of a joke because of the junk that was being sold in them. I would never buy a Thigh Master. I would never buy a Gazelle or one of these steppers, right? That were $49.95 that you're supposed to stand and watch TV, like this little thing, 2 foot by 2 foot. And I thought, well, okay, I'm not going to buy one of those. There's got to be, you never see anybody sweating in these things. And I thought, there's got to be a million people like me who have no problem buying from TV. They just don't see something that makes sense. So we put push-ups and squats and hard work and a round of yoga in there, like comprehensive approaches to lifting and cardio and agility and flexibility, and showed that people have to work hard, and which means we attracted really great customers because there were people who were like, okay, that makes sense to me. And I remember I was at a dinner with a media company when we were developing P90X, and we were wall squats and pull-ups, and they were like, this will never work. You can't show, it's too hard. And I was like, well, Bowflex was at the time like a $1.5 billion company. And I said, that's selling largely through infomercials and people are buying it. I'm like, what we're doing is gravity's free. So I don't need these resistance rods to create gravity for me. What we need is the structure so that people know what to do on what day so they'll get certain results and they won't plateau during 90 days. And our customer needs to see that it's going to be work. They're perfectly willing to give you 45 minutes as long as that's going to have a payoff. And that's who our customer was. And I think if there's anything that Beachbody is, I think I have to be proud of for what Beachbody delivered, is that we never stooped to a false promise or an empty program. It's all, in fact, we'd had programs that we tested that did not deliver, and we would kill them before we shot them.
How did you come up with that structure? So Tony Horton trained you and you in a lot of ways discovered a lot of your superstar trainers. Mm-hmm. So you have an eye for talent. That's something which I want to kind of unpack a little, because you're able to kind of find someone and then understand how to make them be kind of who they are. Obviously, they need some skills themselves. Yeah. But in that initial P90X structure, I've done it. I don't know if you've actually been through it. And I did it because I was always training, but to break a plateau or to mix something up if I knew I was going to be traveling or things like that. But how did you come up with that initial structure?
I think what you're asking is a fixed structure of 90 days.
That's
is that
right.
what you mean?
Yes.
So that was, this is part of what I'm saying, that I'm solving my own problem, because I've joined gyms, you know, like every year, every other year, I'll join. I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to hang in there. And it's thinking that I'm going to sort of incorporate this into my daily life and consistently 3 or 4 days a week. That was not valid for me. I just couldn't do it because I've got priorities. I've got to work. Like, I'm driven with work. So whenever there was a choice, my priority would go to, I'm going to work an extra couple hours. I'm not going to do fitness. But then I was thinking, I also want to be fit. I want my clothes to fit. I want to be strong. So if I can just break off 90 days and just dial it in. And it's funny because the first program was called Power 90. Mm-hmm. And in college I rode. Okay, I was in straight 8, and there's a thing, the coxswain, you'll be rowing as hard as you can in this race, and they're grueling and brutal, and everybody's pulling this thing as hard as they can, you know, sneak up on the recovery, and then pull that thing as hard as you can, and, you know, try not to bury the oar and crab the thing. But then the coxswain will say, you know, hey, we're going to try to pass Cornell. We're going to do a power 20 in 3, 2, 1. And then everybody pulls just a little bit harder for 20 strokes. And you can feel the boat get so much speed that it actually raises out of the water. That is literally the essence of Power 90. People are busy. They got no time for this. They're not prioritizing it, but they want to be fit. So they're going to break off a period of time and say, for this 90 days, I'm going to dial it in. So that has been the variations on the theme, okay? So these are fun anecdotes, because this is how I spend my time. I was flying over the Indianapolis, mm-hmm. and I looked down and you could see where they do the Indianapolis 500. And just got me thinking, I'm like, oh, that's sort of interesting, Indianapolis 500. I guess it's 500 miles or 500 laps around this thing. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like, you can understand, you get that immediately. And I thought we should do that like a workout. So where I want to know exactly what I'm going to get for this workout. And 500 was too much. So we created a thing called Morning Meltdown 100. And the promise was, I'm going to do a 20 to 30 minute workout every day for 100 days, 100 workouts. And every morning, I'm going to burn off a layer of fat. And I remember people inside the company were like, that name is terrible, because not everybody works in the morning. Mm-hmm. Meltdown is associated with your kid, you know, laying down on the floor in CVS and screaming, and 100 is too long. And I was like, I don't know. I think you know exactly what you're jumping into. And sure enough, that program got to 50 million views on our platform faster than any other program.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just fun to find ways, entries into lifestyle change that a person can get from a title. And if there was anything that I would want to talk about here, or that I think is, because, you know, we're at this place talking about connected fitness, mm-hmm. and so the disruption here is around AI, and it's around technology. And I'm sure that there are disruptions coming with using AI and using technology that are meaningful. But in my view, the disruption is not about disrupting the fitness industry. That's sort of already happened, or continues to sort of feed on itself. You know, I think Peloton was a big disruption. But what needs to be disrupted is lifestyle. What needs to be disrupted is our priorities. And so that's what we try to do at Body, where the programs that we come out with are intended to disrupt a person's priority set, so that they'll go, just like at one point, somebody disrupted their priorities, and you know what? Now everybody brushes their teeth in the morning. But that was not everybody all the time. That was a disruption of lifestyle. Our aim at Body is to help people disrupt their priorities so that they will do it. And when the pizza's in front of them, they might have 2 slices instead of 4 slices, because all they need is 2 slices.
Yes. Yeah.
When the burger and fries is in front of them, they might have half the burger, or take the bun off the top, mm-hmm. and have half the fries, and get water instead of a Coke. That's the disruption that I focus on, because I think that the rest is kind of simple and easy. The information's available, the content's available. You don't need, like you said, a coat hanger piece of equipment in your basement. Like, I think people will buy that $1,500, that $3,000 piece of equipment, thinking that they're disrupting their life, and that commitment is what's going to bolt them to it. They'll basically impale themselves on that decision, so that, well, I spent $3,000, honey, now I'm going to use it. And then they start to pile boxes on it, and that's where, you got 4 years of tax receipts sitting on it, and it's still easy to ignore. But to truly disrupt somebody's priority set, so that they do make the priority, so that when they're 80, they're not using a walker and they're not in fear of cracks in the cement. That's where I think the real innovation comes from, and that's what I'm really trying to do.
Are seated machines slowing your members down? With many people spending the whole day sitting in their car, at the office, and in front of screens, then you have to ask yourself, should you really be sitting down when you're exercising? As seated machines do not promote all body movement, then a solution that encourages standing, putting the body in an upright position, will make workouts more effective. Help your members break from sedentary habits with more active training. Are you interested in creating a more dynamic workout environment? Then contact us today.
You've created some huge brands, and if you look at it from the outside, it seems like a wonderful success story. You're clearly an ideas person as well. You talk about your folder of different ideas and the way that you look at the racetrack and stuff. What are some of the things and the great ideas that you've had that have not worked, and what lessons can we probably take from that?
We don't have enough time for that. First off, I appreciate what you said. I would say, going through 2018 to 2021, I had nothing but pride. And then the great disruption of the pandemic, first going digital was just a massive change. And the going to digital from DVD was a change that I didn't really fully understand how big that change was until really 2022. Because I was selling bespoke programs. I'm going to do P90X. I'm going to do 21-day fix. I'm going to do 80-day obsession. And then all of a sudden to put it in a subscription, which violates my premise that, no, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do this for just 90 days. I might do this program for 90 days, but then I'm going to do the next program and the next program and the next program. So I'm really signing up for a gym membership. And I can remember in 2016 when I was having a meeting with a guy named Bill Bradford, who had helped build Hulu. And he was looking at our catalog, and he's like, this is going to be like the Netflix of fitness. And I thought, oh, that's got a really cool ring to it. And I bit into that, but I really should have gone into isolation at the top of a mountain and thought, really, what does that really mean? Because people consume fitness very differently than they consume Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu. They consume fitness for the experience, the outcome, and the hope that this is going to prevent something long term. And they need to know that what they did today was worth it and how it fits into their structure overall. And I would say that I am still working through the reconfiguration of developing content in it for the digital subscription age versus the series of ideas and series that we created. I think we're getting there, but it's funny. It's been 26 years I've been doing this, and I feel like, and I've never worked harder than I worked since the pandemic. And we went public in 2021, and we did it at about the worst time that you could go public. And we bought a little connected bike company to have that. I've always wanted to have stationary cycling on the platform, spinning basically. Just loved the genre. Peloton created an incredible way to make it interesting for people, and but we got in with a premise just at the exact wrong time. Peloton pulled their prices down by $1,000 a bike just at the time that we were coming in with a discount opportunity, and they took away the discount. So we had all these bikes, and it was just like, oh, geez. That was a great execution, great piece of equipment. The screen, the touch screen that SweatWorks helped us refine and roll out was just awesome. But my timing was terrible. And because it's a subscription business, like when I'm going to sell a DVD kit of P90X, there you go. I know the production quality is as good as any workout you'll ever see. Same thing, Insanity. Like the production quality of this stuff is like Hollywood of fitness. And when it was on DVD, it was like, there you go. You're going to love it. But when it's a subscription, it's a different mindset to retain that person. And, you know, I didn't have any responsibility necessarily, ongoing responsibility to somebody that bought the P90X DVDs. And when they were sore on day 7 and like, screw this, I didn't, you know, hey, that's on you. But when you're in a subscription business, I got to find a way to re-engage that person, give them sort of a rescue strategy, which has been, that's the thing that's confounding me for the last 3 years, is to figure out, you know, like right now, maybe, I think the stats that I looked at, somewhere between 60 and 65% of our subscribers actually use the service in a regular way. Well, what? What about the other 40? You're paying for it. And I know you, like, I've hung out with my parents who are in their 80s and 90s, and when they walk around the assisted living place, are in fear of the ground. Like, they are in fear of cracks in the ground. You can't have a conversation with a person in their 80s and 90s these days while you're walking, because they cannot split their focus, because they are scared to death of breaking a hip because they're gonna fall. That's not the way I want to be. I don't think there's a single person on the planet who's like, no, I'll take it. That seems fine to me. Nobody wants to have one of these Rambler scooters to get around Disneyland. They want to be able to walk it. But they're not willing to make the priority now, or they haven't found a way to integrate that priority. And I feel like I have completely failed to innovate, to come up with an idea that helps people get there, including myself. I'm constantly trying to get there, working these things out to try to make it so that, no, laying in bed for that extra half hour from 5:30 to 6 is not worth more to me than getting up and maintaining my agility and mobility. Like, how I can institutionalize that for people and help people realize that, that's the challenge. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's the difficult thing. And, you know, I've tried these AI apps that like, I've got an AI app that literally tells me it's for another platform, but I wanted to test it. So obviously
we talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not using that platform. So this thing every morning at about 10 a.m. texts me and says, you missed your workout again today. No worries, we can pick it up tomorrow. Literally, that is what it says to me every single day.
Well, one of the things I really appreciated about you, Carl, in fact, even from the first time we met, which I think was in a boardroom at Beachbody HQ.
Yeah.
We've been on calls, but that's the first time we met in person. You've always been real. You're like a real person, meaning that we're in fitness. Like, you weren't like a pro athlete. You look at the world as most people will, not like a lot of people who are actually in the industry. You don't look at the world from the, and one of the things you mentioned is, for instance, you don't like vegetables. I don't know if that's changed or not. Do you still, you don't like vegetables?
Well, I don't like them.
Yes.
I have found ways to get them into my mouth and to swallow them, but I don't
but
like them.
A lot of people would say that.
I'm trying to change my languaging, by the way, which is why I'm not saying I hate vegetables. I would have, a year ago, I said I hate vegetables, and I'm like, that's not serving me. I am reaffirming, I am making that my absolute truth by reaffirming that, and I'm trying not to do that anymore. By the way, it's the same thing for fitness. So I won't say I hate fitness anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't like fitness.
Yes, I know.
I don't like working out. So, but I'm not saying that because I need to love it. I need to find a way. So that's an example. Sorry for interrupting you, but but the vegetable story is a good one, because I couldn't eat vegetables, and but I'm like, so one night I'm out at a bar and doing shots of tequila like nothing, dropping them back, hating it, but drinking it, but hating it, and I'm like, well, and I think to myself, how is it that I'll do 3 or 4 of these awful, this awful alcohol, and I can't eat asparagus? What is your problem? Am I in 3rd grade still? And so I said to my wife Isabel and Darren Oline, I said, look, there's got to be a way that you can come up with something that tastes awful. It can taste as bad as tequila does, but is going to help me get over my vegetable problem. And they said, oh, we can absolutely do that. And that's where superfoods and, these exotic mushrooms, adaptogen herbs, probiotics, prebiotics, protein, like they figured out a way, and they were like, we can do that. All these exotic things into a shake that can actually taste pretty good. And that's what created Shakeology 17 years ago, and we have sold 1 billion servings of that shake. Wow. 1 billion servings for a shake at around $4.50 a shake. Like,
have you ever had one? They're actually I don't know how you do it, but it is the best taken, and we both drink shakes. It's the best tasting shake I've ever had.
It's really good.
And I think you get that feedback a lot.
Yeah. Some people don't like it, or they get the little aftertaste from stevia. But Darren and Isabel have stayed involved, and part of our deal is we are not allowed to change the formula without their permission. And so it has stayed consistent. It's evolved as we've learned things about certain mushrooms and their potency. But anyway, the point is, like you said, I am a regular guy. Yeah. I'm not. It's funny because sometimes I'll meet people like the guy who invented TRX, Navy SEAL, I think, right?
Randy.
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant, like great, and it's a great piece of equipment. He loves it so much that he'll never understand me. Like, he loves it. He's like, I get to get on my TRX today, and I look at that thing and I'm like, you're gonna torture me with that thing? I don't want to touch it. So, but he loves it, and that's the difference. And I think that's my dislike, or the unnatural. Since I'm not naturally prone, Mark Goldston, who's our executive chairman, he works out for 2 hours a day. And he's like, don't you love that feeling you get, the endorphin rush? I'm like, I've never had the endorphin rush in my life. So no, I don't care about it. I don't get it. So.
And he's in great shape, by the way. He's in his 70s, right?
He is. He's a picture of health. He's got huge guns, and he loves it.
Yeah.
It's just not me. So if there's 175 to 180 million people overweight or obese who are likely, I guess they're saying 20% of them will do a GLP-1 semaglutide type of pharmaceutical. They're going to need, this industry is going to need somebody like me, doesn't need to be me, but it's going to need to be somebody like me who doesn't like it as much as they don't like it, so that we'll maybe package it in a way that is affordable and tolerable and somehow compelling. That's what I think my job is. So we got a program in development called 25-Minute Speed Train. It's just basically resistance training, cardio, packaged in 25 minutes by Joel Freeman. He did L.I.F.T.S and Lift More for us. And I looked at this program. It is so freaking
25
good.
minutes.
25 minutes.
Because I've done L.I.F.T1. Those were about 45 to 55 minutes.
So I had them, we consolidated it, took out the complex moves so that it's easier to cue. And in 25 minutes, I cannot believe how good the workout is. That's the kind of thing that can help 100 million people. Like, more so than, can I sell them a treadmill that's going to talk to me? Or another, Pilates machine with a screen on it or something. It's just not scalable. If we want to help the GLP-1 crowd retain their muscle and their bone density, if we want to help the 180 million people who are overweight or obese, we got to come up with something that is both gratifying and tolerable, so that when they drag their ass out of bed and they put the shorts on and the sneakers, they're like, I can get this done in 20 to 25 minutes. And it's not just walking. So that's what my job is.
I know you're not in the gym business, but a lot of people listening to this do have gyms, and you've clearly got a unique perspective, I think, on people who don't want to work out and what to do to get them to do something. If you were running gyms or advising gyms, like what would you suggest that they could do within that model to keep people coming back or to get them through the doors even? Well, maybe to keep them coming back, because they're obviously getting them through the doors, but when they come in the doors, they don't stick it, and similar to some of your examples earlier.
I'm guessing. Okay, I am just guessing. But let me say this. Let me say it not as a guy who runs Body, but a guy who's joined gyms. And I don't know if everybody's like me, but I walk into a gym and I immediately feel like I don't belong there. And now Planet Fitness tries to overcome that. I've walked into a Planet Fitness and I immediately feel like I don't belong there. Like there's just something about it. It's not my turn to go on that machine. Like if I go to a hotel and I'll go at the hour when there's nobody else in there, because I don't want anybody looking at me and judging me and, oh, look at where they put the pin in the thing. Well, this guy's so weak. He runs a fitness company, So I would say find a way to make people feel welcome. I think Starbucks has such a great, just the simplicity of what Starbucks was to be the third place, right? So I don't know that I think that this luxury, multifaceted lifetime gym model is going to be scalable to the big problem of obesity. Like some people are going to go all the way in. The guy who started Whole Foods, he's got his thing now. So, but if you think about the scalable approach, something that made me feel welcome and also helped me aspire. Certainly CrossFit nailed that. Like CrossFit made people who sort of had no business doing deadlifts or sprints and stuff. They were just part of it. I think CrossFit sort of was the P90X of gyms. So that was, and they made you feel like each day, workout of the day was sort of an event. I'd never been to a CrossFit, but I paid attention to it enough that I've been like, they were doing it really right. I think F45, who, what's the guy's name who started that? I can't remember, a guy from Australia. He modeled it after P90X, where he's like 45 minutes a day and a circuit approach. And I think that's really interesting if people get along, like people feel like they're helping each other. So those sort of experiential gyms I get. I think Orange Theory is kind of like that too. So that would be the advice I have. But at some point I'd love to even get in that business and tinker around, because I think there's things that can be done that would help people feel like the outcome is going to take them somewhere that they want to go, versus just this assumption that you need to go there, swipe your badge, and sit on a machine.
Something you said earlier, which I want to come back to, you talked about in 2016, you thought you were going to be the Netflix of fitness, and then you talked about how it's so different. We talk about that particular point a lot. A lot of people going digital think that, well, Netflix does it. People watch Netflix. This is the model. They cannot be further from the truth. In fact, I think I've talked about this in the podcast a lot, which is Netflix is comfort. Netflix is where your body wants to go. Your body doesn't want to move. Your body wants that couch, and your body wants to be tuned in like a zombie, looking at something which is going to suck you in. It's in this relaxed state that your body naturally wants to go to. But your body does not want to do fitness, right? So using this, and I don't know why, I think we're coming off of that now finally, but a lot of companies in fitness, they're looking at what is Netflix doing for personalization and recommendations. Like, they're pulling the triggers that you want to go against, because from a physiological perspective, we do not want to do the hard thing, right? We don't want to eat that vegetable. We don't want to sweat for 25 minutes a day. So from your perspective, in kind of what you're working on, because you've clearly given this a lot of thought, what are those triggers or levers, or how do you get motivation for people. One of the things you talked about is a finite period and having consistency, something so like 60 days, 90 days, and you do it, 5 days a week or whatever, so people know that. Is there anything else that you've come up with or that you've kind of thought with these new programs that would help with engagement?
It's always work in progress, Mo. Like I think that you picked up on it at the beginning that finding, we call our trainers super trainers. Mm-hmm. So finding people who, like, it looks so easy. It looks so easy to cue and interact with the people around you and interact with the camera. And it's not easy. Like to make sure, and this is why we test our content so much and really make sure that the super trainer has made this class second nature, so that we need to know without eyes on the viewer that the cues that they're giving, the body position that they expect is happening in home. And we don't have eyes on the home. So we've actually done things like we'll literally section off an area in the studio where a person can only listen to the cues, and we'll watch them. And so as the person on stage, the super trainer is doing it and cueing it, is the person, because you can't always you're not staring at the screen while you're watching it. So is the person behind that who can't see the person, are they able to do it? And so we call it blind cueing. And if they don't, we call it's a broken cue. So we need to tighten up the way that cue is delivered, because people don't understand it. And it nothing pisses off a trainer more than reminding them, you have to repeat the cue, you have to define the cue. And when we find somebody with a special ability to be interesting, engaging, but also technically proficient at cueing, that's when they're a super trainer. That's when the magic happens. And that relationship with the screen is so powerful. And I think that's something that Body has done and continues to do that is as powerful as the programs themselves. Does that answer your question?
It does. Are you allowed to say who your most popular trainer is today?
There's no such thing. I mean, it sort of depends on what's released the most. Sure. Everybody knows.
Lava is new, right?
Body Lava. Yeah. Elise Joan launched that last summer. Prior to that, we had Dig Deeper. Sean T did a total muscle transformation. He's the insanity guy. Yeah. He was the dance guy. And then he got into bodybuilding, completely transformed his body. We said, let's make it the P90X of its time. Mm-hmm. And so that's at the top of our viewer list right now. L.I.F.T.S continues to be extremely popular, along with his Lift More program. That's Joel Freeman. Autumn Calabrese just launched a program
nutrition, right?
Well, it's a combination. Okay. It's called Belvital, mm-hmm. which it's a hormone health program taking fitness, nutrition, stress reduction, and proprietary supplements for blood glucose control, metabolism, and fat burning, and basically packaged the whole thing together. And she created this really innovative approach to sort of mimicking what you do on a Reformer or a Cadillac, yeah. $10,000 piece of equipment, and she does it with a thing that you attach to the door, and it's phenomenal. And that program just launched in December and is getting rave reviews, and even more important, like I think that program is the P90X of its time. Okay. Like when you see transformations that you can't believe that transcend the scale. Everybody in the test group lost weight, but their blood markers, their hormone levels balanced out, cortisol curves, insulin response, like all these important markers that affect night sweats, brain fog, mood swings, settled down.
So when you come up with these programs, you also do the research.
Yeah, we have teams that do that.
Yeah.
I'm not research prone. I'm constantly reading and looking at what matters, what are the primary levers. But then we've got PhDs and doctors, and obviously like Autumn Calabrese is, she's got probably more content on the library than anybody. And part of the reason is she is so aggressive about solving the next problem. So after she had created this program, 80-Day Obsession, one of the program that would help people both shape and firm and build their butt at the same time that it would burn off the fat and flatten their abs. Those are two very difficult things to happen at the same time. So she had to impose a very specific approach to nutrition so that you were feeding the body enough that you could build your butt, but restricting it appropriately so that you can also scorch fat and flatten the abs. And she did this thing. She was a competitive physique competitor. But after that, she was having issues, and she realized that her gut health was out of balance. So she developed a program called 4-Week Gut Protocol, which helped women with their overall gut health. And then that was a hit. I think that was like a $22 million hit or something. And then like a couple years after that, she was like, wow, something's still going on. Now she's in her 40s, and like, what is it? Is my perimenopause? What's happening? She's struggling with doctors, really suffering, and turns out her hormones were out of balance. And so as she researched it, she saw that there was an absence of solutions that were comprehensive. So you'd have experts who were selling a super supplement and a very aggressive, restrictive diet, not enough calories. And she's like, okay, that's not okay. But there was nothing to help with cortisol response to overtraining, or particularly over HIIT training, which really create a cortisol response.
Right.
And so she created this approach to Pilates to still give people intensity without hopefully creating that spike. So that kind of thinking is so holistic and balanced. And she did all this research on hormone balance, and then we brought experts in the field of functional medicine and supplementation to create a package that is the most substantial thing that we've created in 26 years. And it's we actually have an infomercial coming out in a few weeks.
Okay.
26 years is a long time. We actually interviewed Sean, Tony Horton many years ago, and he told me about the story. But you know, the 26 years is a long time, and so the people that were following Tony back then are probably at a different stage in their life. There's also a lot of younger people coming in to the market, where a lot of the gyms are going after this sort of young demographic. So tell us in general, and there's a lot going on within that question, but demographic, evolution, how do you remain relevant? Or have you seen that the people that came in through Tony are following you through different stages of her life? Like Autumn, you explained, you know, as she gets older, she's found different things. How does that work for you? How do you think about that demographic, and how do you also remain relevant as the company continues to go on?
It is a balance of psychographics, demographics, and biological stage of life. The psychographics, obviously, with each different generation, there might be the last generation affects the next generation in some interesting way. So like right now, what is the right now generation? I always forget how these things are all.
Gen Z.
Gen Z?
Gen Z. That's the younger generation that we're talking about coming into gyms.
They're like, are they the 20s?
Yes.
Okay. So they are less motivated, apparently, less motivated by the vanity metrics than they are by the biometrics. So they care about how they feel, they care about their overall well-being, but they are not responsive to flat six-pack abs. Okay,
That's right. Yeah.
That's basically what we're reading. Not sure I totally believe it, but great. So we look for concepts that will satisfy that, and our marketing will start to approach that now that we can more than an infomercial ever could. Now we are far more targeted with our advertising, but the content has always been holistic for people. So I don't know that I'm answering your question well, but so Tony, let's use Tony. Incredible, outrageous talent, the GOAT, many would say.
Yeah.
And because he was hysterical, and like I can remember, you might have even told you this, like when we started shooting P90X, he was a little stiff, And I took him aside and I was like, look, man, I just want you be you, man. We can bleep out anything. You can throw the F-bomb, whatever you want. Like, be dumb. I don't care. I want the most genuine, the same guy that was a mime on 3rd Street in Santa Monica. Like, be that guy. And he just lit it up. And it was so entertaining. And, but I don't know, he's 64, 65 now. 20-year-old is not really looking to train with a 64, 65-year-old. Maybe, he's certainly an inspiration. He's the Jack LaLanne of the generation. But we've got to bring trainers and concepts that will appeal to the experiential generation. What'd you call them, Gen Z?
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Yeah.
Like, they care what that experience is going to be like, and they care about the rationale for it. So we bring along trainers, and so, for instance, Body Lava is a 20-minute program which combines power yoga and primal moves into this 20-minute sequence, which is so good for the body. Like, I did it. It's an 8-week program. It's 6 or 8 weeks, maybe 6. But like, I've got a shoulder issue, I got a knee issue, I got a hip issue. Whew, they're all lubricated and fine after 6 weeks of this program. So like, everything, that's our job. And that's the challenge is with 140 plus programs now, as new people come in, helping them find the content that's the right place for them to start, so that then they can then move about the catalog in a way that is going to be rewarding for them.
Something else which you've changed very recently is you've changed your business model. You went from an MLM model into more direct-to-consumer model. That was a huge culture change. We talked about it on the phone a couple of weeks ago, but speak a bit about what that was like and why you did it, and why you maybe should have done it earlier, but why this was the right time to do it.
I think what happened was we learned some things, and we saw trends that the stigma of multi-level marketing, which, like, I think we got in terms of the domestic U.S. market, we got in at the perfect time because it was the rise of Facebook. So people were like, hey, I'm going to monetize my Facebook with this thing that I need to do anyway. I need to work out anyway. I want to eat better. I want to lose weight. And I only get to monetize it on my Facebook. So like, that exploded. And we were kind of the first. And it really made sense because they were just advocating what they were doing. And it's the same thing. Friends of theirs were like, you're really sticking with that thing? You did that for all 90 days and look, you lost 40 pounds. Oh my gosh. So it was like the perfect multi-level marketing thing. Then a lot more proliferation of multi-level marketing on social media, and the model, I think, got a little inverted where it became, where it was originally very missionary, like, I want to help people, I'm doing this, and it became very mercenary. And it got extremely discouraging to watch people have incredible transformations, make a bunch of money, check out, and then come back 3 months later and need a completely new transformation because they would be so incredibly rewarded every time they got another transformation because they could sell a bunch of people. And I'm like, there's something broken about this model. This is not what we're trying to represent to people. And it really, we started to learn that that there was such a resistance to the multi-level of it, meaning, so let's say the three of us, you bring me in, and then you bring me in and I bring him in. So he sells something, I get a piece of it, you get a piece of it, and I sell something, you get a piece of it, but you might not be doing anything.
Right.
You might have stopped. And he and I are like, why are we paying you? Like, because you checked out. And I had a whole layer, thousands of people who, because of the nature of the business model, were getting rewarded because that's the way it was set up. And we're like, this thing is really broken. And that stigma was also, so he and I might have left the business because we resented you now. And not only did we resent multi-level marketing, but we friggin' hated Body or Beachbody because it's that MLM company. And I'm like, that's not who I want to be. We never set out to be a great multi-level marketing company. We just wanted to help people get in shape and then share it with other people. And it turns out that affiliate marketing has become a much more benign way to do that. Now, we earn 100%. If I sell you, I earn 100% of the commission. I don't have to share it with him. You know that? And so I'm not resenting anybody. It's up to me, my work. And it's not an entitlement anymore. And we also learned that, like, there's surveys that said 90% of the population will not buy from a multi-level marketing business. 90%. So here I am thinking I got a huge TAM. I got to reduce it by 90% because I'm carrying along a business that has become mercenary and is taking up a lot of time and has this sort of entitlement aspect to it. And, it has been a violent change to the business model, but it really has put me in a position where I feel like I'm running an agile startup that is back to what matters to me the most, and that is helping people change their behavior. And if we can find a way to reward them, or that they can, like the whole premise for the multi-level marketing business was this regular thing that happens. Somebody loses 40, 50 pounds. Mm-hmm. They go to a July 4th picnic with the family. They haven't seen them for 3 months. They go to New England for the July 4th picnic, and everybody's like, how'd you lose the weight? And that person will create outrageous demand at that moment. And we thought, well, if they're going to create all that demand for their hard work and discipline, they deserve a piece of the action. That was the genesis of the multi-level marketing business. Well, now we're back to that with an affiliate community where if you lose 40 to 50 pounds, you deserve whatever money, whatever demand, mm-hmm. you deserve a piece of that action. And but you shouldn't have to share it with a bunch of people who may not even be engaged in it. So it's been painful. I lost a lot of friends because it was about a 17-year part of the business, and thousands of them came over to the affiliate side of the business, which has been really a great transition. I'm excited by this part of the business, and the company's way more agile now. So, but it's definitely been a big transition.
Well, there's one more question we've got. I think it's probably the person to ask it.
Yeah, I think you are. So what we've been asking a lot of our guests at this summit has been, do you have a personal hack or learning that you've had recently, something maybe in the last few months, that you've thought is interesting or has changed how you think about your own health and wellness?
I'll give you two. Okay, no. I'll give you two, since you said supplement. The first one is, and this is not a commercial, this is just a habit, okay? So it could, I do it with Shakeology, but I suppose you could do it with any shake. I used to be 3 meals a day, and I would have my shake at about 10 a.m. And I would say I was always running in the 162 to 165 pounds. I'm 5'8". So I just had a little bit more around my midsection than I wanted. And it was just tough to lose it. So I'm like, so then, I started to look into intermittent fasting, and that really wasn't my thing. Generally, I understand the principles of it, but I didn't want to have to create a fasting window every day so much. But what I did was sort of a quasi intermittent fast, and that is, I just load the shake. Remember I said I don't like vegetables. So I make the shake every morning with like the biggest baby spinach salad you would ever have, and jam it in this blender, and a banana, and some healthy fats like almond butter or coconut butter, coconut butter, fiber, our greens boost, and our collagen, and Shakeology, water, and a little almond milk, and that's what I'll have, and that's the first thing that I'll have. Like I'll have that around 8 or 9 in the morning, and I don't eat until noon. And I've done that for the last 2 years, and I am literally as lean as I've been all my life, and it's been so easy. So that's the first thing. I just cut out breakfast. Like this assumption that I got to make oatmeal or a bowl of cereal.
Well, the shake's your breakfast.
The shake is basically my breakfast because I load it up.
When's your last meal? Because we've been talking about this.
Dinner.
Late, early?
7.
Okay.
7-ish. And then, I'll have like, I have this little, again, not a commercial, tiny little, almost a shot glass of pudding that I make with Shakeology. That it's Shakeology and avocado and banana and some water. And I make a big batch of it for the week, and I'm good. And it's literally probably 2 ounces of pudding, and I eat it with a tiny spoon while I'm watching TV, and it's a great dessert.
Yeah.
And I couldn't eat a bigger dessert. So, but yeah, so I'm not a big snacker. I'm not a sweets person. I've cut back some drinking. So the other thing, you wanted 2. The second thing is I have made, and I this is a bit of an experiment, but I have made my mornings more non-negotiable. And I would say this is sort of studying the Kobe Bryants of the world, like that you talked about comfort, right? And there's the book Comfort Crisis, and saying and looking at it and going, is my goal to be comfortable all the time, or do I want to find discomfort every day, a little bit of discomfort, so that I can maintain my long-term comfort and agility and mobility well into my 80s and 90s. So that is literally the self-talk that I have when the alarm goes off at 5, and I'm like, you know what? I don't need to do it today. I got no witnesses. It's my living room, and but then I'm like, no, like I need to create that discomfort now, and I'll literally get into a fight with myself. You got to create that discomfort now, so that you can be comfortable longer in your life and for the rest of the day. And that's when I'll jump in the cold plunge and then right in the gym. Great. Non-negotiable.
Well, Carl, it's been a pleasure having you on.
I'm sorry I talked so much. It was fun though.
It was incredible. Thank you for coming on.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks, Carl. Thank
nice
you very much.
Nice to meet you, Matthew.